Mitpachos, now we're on Daf Yud Chesed and Beis, Hasforim. And the barbers, when they gave a haircut, they used to put some sort of a garment on top of the person. And those you're allowed, the Mishnah says, to wash and launder on Chol Moed. Honey in, these you're allowed to bakli pishtan lo. The linen garments are not permitted. Amalei Abaye defends the Shita of Rabbi Yochanan, and he says, the Mishnah is talking about hand towels, etc., that are made of other materials besides linen, and they can be washed in the Chol Moed. In the case of linen, all types of garments are permitted to be washed on Chol Moed, either because, as we said before, they get soiled frequently, or because it's an easy task to wash them and launder them. Omar Bar Hidayah, I saw the Sea of Tiberias. The mafki le mishichle demonet. People were taking bowls of kisna. Kisna is linen. And bechula demoed on Chol Moed, they took these bowls of linen garments, bowls full, big baskets full, linen garments on Chol Moed, and they washed their garments in the Sea of Tiberia. So the Gemara rejects this and says, Maskef le Abaye man lemelon tiberotzen chacham. Okay, you saw people do this, but did they have the consent and the approval of the chachamim? Dilmal shelo berotzen chachamim avdi. So the Gemara leaves this as an open-ended question as to whether or not we accept Rabbi Yochanan's principle that linen garments are allowed to be laundered on Chol Moed. The Mishnah says, the Elu Kosvin B'Moed, that even though Ksiva is prohibited on the 139 malachas, we will allow it in certain cases on Chol Moed. Number one, Kiddushay Noshin, to make a Shtar Kiddushin. Number two, Gittin a Shtar Gerish. Number three, Shovrim is what the Malveh gives to the Loveh when the Loveh pays up his loan. Daitiki are Tzavot Shchivmira, when a person is on his sick bed and they write a will. Matana is to record in a document that so-and-so gave so-and-so a gift. Uprisbolim, which is going to allow us to lend money. We can talk a lot about Prusbol, but let's leave it for time being because we're really pressed for time. Igros Shum. Shum is Miloshin Shuma. Like, for example, if let's say the Lova has a shibud on his karka, which means his karka, his real estate is liened to back up and guarantee payment of a chov, then we can write a shtar to evaluate the karka, the real estate on the market. And it attests the valuation of a particular field in the estate. I'm just curious if he has a discussion here about Prusbol. Let's see. Where is it? Number 12. Let's see. Okay, and basically, what we're talking about Shmitas Ksofim. It means that after the Shemitah, you cannot collect debts unless you created a Prusbol in which you take the documents that indicate that he borrowed money from you. That's called a Shtar Chov, and you hand it over to Bezdin. And as long as it's in the hands of Bezdin, then there's no din of Shemitah Mashamit. And we have a halacha of Dover Ovid, and if it's necessary to write this Shtar Prusbol on Chol Moed, we're going to allow you to do so that you shouldn't suffer a law. The Igros Mazon, and these are tzedakah shtaros. Let's just see. Oh, not just tzedakah, but let's say, for example, he enters into a marriage in which his wife has, let's say, a daughter from a previous marriage, and he, now I guess you call him the stepfather, if you will, writes a document to commit himself financially to support his stepdaughter. And you're allowed to write that on Chol Moed because you need Eidim. And right now we have Eidim, and we want to get them signed in the shtar. Otherwise, this person is going to deny that he ever made this commitment. Shtarei chalitzu miyunim. After a Yavama receives chalitza, she needs some sort of proof that she had chalitza so she can marry anyone else. And she gets a shtar chalitza. And then there's something called the shtar miyun, which means that the Yavam, if he wants to marry the Yavama, but he's not ready for the Maisa Bia of Yibum, then he gives her Maimon, which means he says, Hareyat Mekudeshesli, and he gives her a shtar kiddush. Not sure why this has to be written on Yontif. Let me just see if by chance he points it out. Can you look at your notes? Why is it so important? To write a shtar. Oh, I see what we're saying. I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I thought we were talking about Maimon. Forget that. To cross that out. We're talking about Miyun. I made a mistake. I saw the mem and the aleph. Miyun means that a girl who was married off by either her mother or her brothers when her father died and she's a katana, then she can walk out of the marriage whenever she wants to. That's called Miyun. And we need to give her a shtar Miyun. Because that shtar Miyun will allow her to marry someone else, and maybe Bezdin won't be available to write a shtar. So now it's pressing. We're going to allow writing of the shtar on Chol Moed. Shtar Birurim, Zeres Bezdin, the Igros Shel Rishus. Okay, so here are another three categories of Ksiba Muteres B'Chol HaMoed. Number one, Shtare Birurim. Let's say there was a court case about how to divide an estate amongst the Yarshim, and it's based on what's called Birurim. Birurim means to decide who gets what. Let's say you have a number of Yarshim, each one is vying for a certain part of the estate. So we'll write up that shtar after Bezdin issues its decision about the birur of the estate. Now, any ruling that's handed down by Bezdin should be recorded immediately because the court is not going to be available later. That's called Zeres Bezdin. And finally, Igros Shel Rishus, records of laws issued by the government. And there was a concern that the laws would be forgotten if they weren't recorded immediately. So this has to do with what we call Dina de Malchusa Dina, that we respect the law of the land, which, by the way, is not always true, but generally speaking, it's true. But there are exceptions. Amar Shmuel Mutali Aris Ichu B'Chol HaMoed. Erisin is permitted on Chol HaMoed, and we don't apply the principle of Ein Ma'arvin Simcha B'Simcha. So marriage, which means a full-fledged marriage with Suin and Chuppah, is also on Chol HaMoed, but Erisin we're going to be matir. And what's the compelling reason to be lenient as far as allowing Erisin on Chol HaMoed is Shem Yikadnenu Ach. So we don't believe in God in this case, that God will take care of it. And whoever has to marry this girl will marry this girl. No. You got to do what you got to do. You know, it's also Taz of Imo. You know, Lame Misayele, a Mishnah could support Shmuel. The Elu Kosu B'Moed Kedushay Noshim. My love, Shtari Kedushin Mamish. When we talk about Shtari Kedushin that you're allowed to write, it's the actual Shtar Kedushin that he's going to give to her and be Makadisha. So you see that Kedushin is mutter on Chol HaMoed. Otherwise, the shtar is meaningless. Lo says, and Gemara rejects it. Shtari Psikta. Psikta means that when the two fathers, the father of the chassan and the father of the kal, they come to agree together as to who will provide what. You know, the father of the kal is going to provide the furniture, and the father of the chassan is going to provide the roof. Ukir Rabbi Chizda, Omar Rav. Rav Kidu Amarav, Bamea Tanosin Lebanecha, Lebincha, Kach v'kach. Bamea Tanosin Lebitcha, Kach v'kach. So normally you need a kinyan in order to effectuate an acquisition, but there are certain things that you can effectuate even through speech alone, through making a statement. And what happens is that the father says this is what he's going to provide. The other father, this is what I'm going to provide. And then they went and got married based on that commitment. That commitment is absolutely binding. Be'amira, even though it was only the speech. Lema misayela. Shall we perhaps support the statement of Shmuel from the Mishnah? Ein nosim nashim b'moed. Marriage is prohibited on Chol Moed. Lo besulos v'lo monos, whether it's our first marriage or it's our second marriage or our 50th marriage. The lo miyab, we don't perform yibum on Chol Moed. And why not? Mipnei shesimcha hi lo. Oh, I see. Because we're applying the principle of ein ma'arvin simcha b'simcha. And yibum is a full-fledged marriage. And the Gemara's medayik, hali ares, shari, you're allowed to do erisin. Yibum is nesuin, but erisin would be allowed on Chol Moed. The Gemara says that's not a proof at all. Lomi boy kama, lomi boy lo aris the lo kovid mitzvah. Goes without saying that we're not going to allow you to do erisin because that's not a mitzvah. Certainly it should be also on Chol Moed. Elafiu lisa nami. The kovid mitzvah asur. Even if he's ready for nesuin, even nesuin is going to be forbidden on Chol Moed. Even though nesuin is a mitzvah, but nevertheless we have a principle of ein ma'arvin simcha b'simcha. Tashma, the Tana de Beis Shmuel. Ma'arsim, avalo konsim. That during Chol Moed you're allowed to do erisin, but not nisuin. And also nisuin seudas erisin. We don't make a big feast for the erisin because that would again be a violation of ein ma'arvin simcha b'simcha. The lo miyabim, nor do we allow yibim neshe simcha ilo, and we would be violating the principle of ein ma'arvin simcha b'simcha. Shmamina, we see clearly, explicitly from this brisa that erisin is mutter on Chol Moed. We are Shmuel, Shemi Yikadmenu Acher, Omar Shmuel b'chol Yomi Yom Bas Kol Yotsis Beomeres, Bas Ploni Leploni, Sada Ploni Leploni. Why can't we rely on God that has already determined who will marry who? Why are you worried that somebody else will chap the tzii and marry her first? Ella Shemi Yikadmenu Acher beRachamim. That even though the Bas Kol came down, but that could be changed by prayer, and maybe somebody else had the schus of tefillah. He had a Rava, like the case of Rava Shamei. He heard lahu gavras, a person boy rachme that was pleading with God. The Omer, and he said, "Tizdami bli planisa, allow me to marry a certain woman." Amalei, Rava said to him, "Lo ti boy rachme." That's not the way you beseech God for mercy. Ichazilach lo az lo minach. You should know that if she was designated for you, then you'll be able to marry her. V'lo, and if not, kafart b'Hashem, then you're fighting against renouncing God. Basar hachi shami deka omar. After this episode, Rava heard, "O iu limos mikama, o I tamus mikame." Either he'll die before her or she'll die before him. On the lay, so Rava said to him, "Lav haminalcha loti boy Allah the milsa hachi." Didn't I tell you that this is not a proper prayer? Because the man said that either he'll die before her or she'll die before him. If I don't marry her, I will be unable to bear seeing her marry someone else. Therefore, either let her die before I will see her marry another man, or let me die before she marries. And in this situation, Shmuel says this is not a proper tefillah. And Shmuel refers to this when he says that one may betroth a woman on Chol Moed, lest another man precede her. If one does not betroth his bride at the earliest opportunity, a jealous suitor might pray that she die first. Unbelievable. Okay, Rabbi, so this is where we're going to have to stop because we ran out of time. So we have to finish the Amud and Mitzvah later on today, but we made some very good progress, and hopefully by tomorrow we'll catch up. And I wish you all a great day and Shavuot. Thank you so much.